Hey y'all, what up? UFC 321 ended, and this is my reaction to it. Overall, I thought it was a good card. You had some really good fights. It just ended very anticlimactically. Before I get into that, I do want to give a shout out, give a props to the reffing and the judging. Because when it comes to the reffing, you had twice where the referees didn't hesitate. They kind of knew what they're going to do. They called it. First one was when Maxim, he ended up grabbing the cage against Raposo to then flip position, and right away the ref stepped in, said don't, you used it to change position, you used to gain an advantage, so right away, didn't think about it, didn't hesitate, 1 point, deduction. And that was good to see. And then you also had with Hamdi Abdul Wahid, when he ended up elbowing Chris Barnett in the back of the head. Right away, you saw Mark Goddard, 1 point, deduction. And he told him, look, I warned you before that. You did it. 1 point deduction. Like, there wasn't a hesitation. And I think, when you look at especially last week where you had Dan Miragliotta, when the fight was stopped 3 seconds earlier, and just going, okay, wait, I stopped the fight 3 seconds earlier. The fight's off, or the fight's done. The dude won by TKO. He ended up having to fight 2 more rounds, and he still won. So he didn't get screwed out of it, that win. But it was still the idea that it shouldn't have continued, but it did. And you also look on that same card, there was, I think it was an eye poke or groin strike, and didn't take a point right away. Waited. I think it was 3 or 4 minutes into the timeout stoppage, and right before Fish said, "Yeah, I can fight," he went and deducted 1 point. It wasn't right away. It was almost if he was waiting to see if the fighter was going to continue. He's going to take a point. If not, he wasn't. And so I think, when you look at this week, I thought the just reffing was on point. They knew what they're going to do. They weren't hesitating. They weren't kind of skittish. They were going to do it. I think when it came to judging, I like how judging weren't just giving it to people who, take you down and I just lay on you. And boom, you get the win. Judges were really going and saying, if you take him down, but all you do is lay on him, we're going to give it to the guy who's then getting better strikes on the feet. Or if they even get way less control time, they were trying to do damage on top. And so they were giving you that. Or, like you saw with kind of other people, where if they were attacking from the bottom more than the person who had taken them down was, they were giving them that. So I definitely like to see that. I thought that was better refereeing. That's how it should be. And I'm actually going to make a video after the last fight card of the year and what I think they should make kind of the guideline of what should happen when it comes to, fouls. If it should be, just do it once, point taken, or if it's bad enough, point taken. But if it ain't bad, maybe you get one get out of jail free card, and just kind of see what the judging is, the criteria going forward. But just want to shout out that, because I think when you're gonna sit there and knock on the reffing or the judging, you gotta call it out when it's good. So now going to the card itself, the main event. Obviously, what a shame. I mean, what a shame. You had, to me, what was hyped up to be a good fight, and for the first 4 minutes it was. Because you'd seen Tom throw kicks, which he didn't throw a lot of in his other fights, whether it being high or low. You had him even wrestling a bit. But you had him doing stuff you wouldn't have him do in his other fights because he didn't need to. And we saw Gon. I mean, Gon was able to defend the couple takedowns Aspinall tried. You could see he was hurting Aspinall. His nose was red. His nose was bloody. You could see that he was starting to do it. And it would have been something to see because Aspinall's never had to go deep in a fight. So, with the way he was throwing to, he was throwing with some heavy stuff. It was coming hard. So, could he have, if he would have continued to throw like that, made it through all 5 rounds? Or would he have started to gas out in the later rounds? And could that have actually been a benefit to Gon, who has gone that? So, it was sad to see it robbed and the fans be robbed of what looking to be a good fight and end that way. And one thing I want to say is, Chael Sonnen on the post-fight show said that he thought Aspinall kind of quit and that he should be able to just keep on going, even if they get eye poked. And I don't think that's right. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys have been accidentally eye poked, or I've had it where in sparring someone's punched me in the eye, and obviously when we're wearing boxing gloves, so it's not finger in the eye, but it's boxing glove in the eye, and it sucks. It don't feel good. So if for him or anyone to say, well, no, just suck it up and fight, just go in there and fight, and he quit because he didn't want to deal with it anymore because he thought it was going to be a different fight, and just overall he should have continued, and he quit because he didn't think it was going to be as hard of a fight, and once he got to that point he realized it was going to be harder and he was ready for it. That's just, to me, just really sad and disingenuous. You shouldn't be doing that. You should take it as its face value. Now, I do know it looks kind of weird because the eye he was holding just got pushed on like the tear duct area, where the other eye, it went like knuckle deep. But however, I don't think you can say he's faking it or he didn't want to do it or anything like that. It just it was a sad thing to happen. It sucks it happened, no doubt. We were all kind of robbed and screwed out of what was looking to be a good main event fight between those two. And so, I just think saying anything of that is sad. I do think this has got to be rematched. I don't think you give anyone else. It's got to be these two. DC said it that he thinks it should be December if they can go. I don't think you'll see it December. With the way, if you've seen pictures of him after the fight, he had heavy amount of gauze over his eye and it was all taped up. I don't think you'll see it till January, February, maybe March of next year. I don't think you're going to see it any sooner than that. But just sad because it was looking to be a good fight. The hype was there for it. Tom wanted to fight because he'd been on the sidelines waiting for Jones all this time, and Gon was itching to get back in there and try for another title fight after his fight with Jones and how that went very poorly for him. So very sad it ended that way, but I think it needs to be rescheduled, and just what can you do? Now to the co-main event, I think the right person won. I think Dern won it 4-1. I think she won rounds 1, 3, 4, 5. I think Jan Varova won it round 2. That's it. I think 3 and 4 you could give one of them to Jan Varova, but I just think when you watch that fight, Mackenzie Dern was just beating her up on the feet. Jan Varova couldn't really hang with Dern. And I think even when she took Dern down, Dern was just throwing from the bottom and really hitting her with some heavy shots and all that, and just really putting it on her. So I definitely think Jan Varova put up a good fight. And I just think it was, she couldn't hang with Dern on the feet. And when it came to the grappling and being on the ground, I think the reason Dern stayed there, because she was comfortable. She was fine with throwing the hammer fist, the punches, the elbows, because of her Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background. Um, but I definitely think that when it came to it, yeah, right person won. It should have been Dern. I think she won 4-1, 3-2 for sure. But it was a good showing by both ladies. It was a good fight, no doubt. Um, it's just, you could see that when it came to the striking, Shamborova couldn't deal with Dern, couldn't hang with Dern. Or when it came to the grappling, Dern could do it. I thought there's a couple times she could have got up. There's one time where Jambrova caught her with a hook, not really anything hard, but caught her with a left hook. And then the one right when she got up went to grapple her again. And I think Mackenzie Dern a couple times could have just stood up and just been ready for either a hook to come or a grapple attempt to come. But I also understand why she kind of did what she did, because she's comfortable with that, because of that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background. One thing I'll say about Dern is her striking has gotten better. From when first entered the UFC, she was legitimately a one-dimensional fighter, one-trick pony. If she couldn't take you down, she probably wasn't going to win, because her striking was not really there. And while I still think it could get better, it could get more crisp, more technical, it could be tightened up. I think she's came a long way from when she first entered in. And so I definitely think that she won the fight. It was the right decision. And just overall, kudos to her. I think both ladies kind of give them their props. They put on a good fight. They didn't quit. I just think, you saw Dern striking just was better than Jamborova's. I think you saw Jamborova starting to get tired from all that wrestling, and definitely was affecting her. I just think the right person won this one. And so it's gonna be interesting to see who they put up with her. I think maybe they might even have, a kind of number one contenders fight to decide that. But just good fight overall. Just think Dern won it because she was beating her on the feet with her striking. Anyone went to the ground, I feel that her activity on the ground with all those strikes was just kind of surpassing what Jamborova was doing. We have the fight before that was the Usman Nurmagomedov and Mario Batista. Now, I thought Nurmagomedov won rounds 1 and 3. I thought Batista won 2 because of that knockdown, and now I think personally he was going for a kick, because you can see where he kind of pushed off, but it just happened because Nurmagomedov was going down. I think maybe for a takedown, it hit with the knee. Even though I think he's trying to do a body kick, because like I said, you can see that kind of push off. But anyways, knocked him down. I just think what won Nurmagomedov the fight was very simple: his grappling, and which is kind of interesting because he is more known for his striking. But you really saw him kind of use that Nurmagomedov style, where he takes you down and kind of keeps you there through just the chain wrestling. That every time you get up, his hands are still clasped, so he's just going to either use a trip or drag you down to the floor, or somehow, some way, take you down and try and hold you there and do some damage. But I definitely think Batista had some good moments on the feet beyond just the knockdown. I thought if he could have been able to keep it on the feet, there's like one time, I think it might have been actually more than once, maybe a couple times, where he threw a kick and just without setting up was not the best idea in my mind, because you had Nurmagomedov was able to catch it and take him down. But I just thought overall when it came to this fight, he just couldn't handle the wrestling. The wrestling was just there. It was just there. I mean, there's times where Batista was able to either fight off a takedown or get up and kind of get out of it. But when he did it, he wasn't enough to capitalize on it and really throw some heavy bombs, heavy shots. He would get a couple, and then Nurmagomedov would take him down again, or he would get back to his feet and he'd just be dragged down again. So, good fight. Kind of same with the co-main event. I think they both, both those fights, you can see the trying, and they tried their best. I just think Nurmagomedov with his wrestling was just too much for Batista. Batista could never really get it going because of that wrestling, and it just kind of was that. The fight before that, you had Volkov and Almeida. Now, this is where kind of what I said earlier is I like the judging, how when it came to it, the judging wasn't just going to give you you take him down, you hold him there, and we're going to give you it. That if you had someone who took you down but reversed it or got up and then the other person took him down but had less control time but was really going heavy on the strikes, they're giving it to him. Or was doing better on the feet, landing better shots on the feet, but then was getting taken down and held there for most of the round. They gave it to the fighter who had landed the better shots. Especially if damage is going to be your main criteria. You gotta judge it that way. If you take him down and do nothing, but you got a dude who, let's say, the fight only was on the feet for a total of a minute throughout the round, was landing the better shots in that minute, and that for the 4 minutes of ground time you didn't really throw anything, you just kind of laid on him and held him down. We're not gonna award you that, and I definitely kind of think that's how it should be. And I'm gonna make a video kind of on what I want to see, starting in 2026 and from judges and what the criteria should be to make it even more defined than it is now. I think for Volkov, what's kind of nice about this fight is a lot of people thought he won the last fight. Ended up kind of was on the wrong side of a judge's decision. Where this fight, you just legitimately didn't see that. You saw, I think the right person won. And I think that sets a good precedent going forward. That if you're just going to take him down and hold him there, we're not going to give it to you. Not going to happen. No. You have to actually do some damage with that takedown. And if you ain't, even if you hold him down for 3-4 minutes of the round, but in that minute, that guy does better striking, whether it be on the feet or with his own takedown, that we're going to give you it. And I'd like to see that going forward. And like I said, I'm going to make a whole video on that after the last card of the year to what I want to see from the reffing and the judging going forward. Because I love this sport and I want to see this kind of be judged the best way it can. And then obviously the first fight on the main card, that one didn't last long. I think it didn't. They made out of the first round. And I thought it was something interesting because you look at Racket. This dude is just shredded, built. I can't remember the other guy's name. The other guy didn't look as shredded. And didn't even throw as much. But he just caught him with that one nice left hand right as he was coming in. It might have been right hand. So, if it is, my bad. But just caught him with that one nice punch right as he was coming in. That just hit him and turned his head. And that just did it. That punch turned his head as he's coming in, just dropped him. And it looked like there was going to be a little scuffle at the end of that. The way he kind of came up and said, let's go, let's go. I tend to think he thought he was man and coming at him, and he's going to go, you want to fight again? Let's go get some more of this. But, that was just a beautiful strike. And he didn't throw a whole lot before that, so it was just a beautifully timed strike that just ended it. I just put it down, ended the fight. So I just thought that main card was a good card, especially with the Usman Nurmagomedov and versus Mario Bautista. How it was at least still competitive. It wasn't boring or anything. I just think the grappling of Usman was just too much for Mario. And then the the co-main event, my bad. Again, good fight. I just thought the striking was too much for Jamboree. Just Dern was just out striking her completely. And you saw the evolution of that game. So there are a couple honorable mentions that I want to mention about the prelims. The first one was, my God, that was a knockout. The featured prelim, he put him out, and that was kind of scary because you could see that when he kicked through his head and he was up before he hit the ground, and when even they turned him over and he was still out, and when they did that close up on his face, it was like his eyes were barely open. I mean, that was just scary. It really was, and I'm glad he's okay. Just one hell of a knockout, but still terrifying to see. The other one was Klein and Rebetsky. I mean, Rebetsky just really got beat up in those first two rounds. Was really just not able to deal with the striking and Klein. But you saw him grin it out, continue to push forward. And even in that third round when he got Klein down, and Klein delivered that nasty elbow where he was just leaking blood, he still didn't quit. And kudos to that. That was a good fight. I do feel bad for Klein because, he got taken down. Everyone, me included, was wondering why he wasn't getting up, what's going on, trying to get up. Couldn't find out he broke his ankle. And that's why I couldn't get up. So it made sense. But just the first two rounds were a really good fight. You saw the toughness of Rebetsky. And even that third round, just taking those heavy elbows from Klein on the bottom and still just pushed through. So kudos to him. And then you had Wood and Delgado. Nathan Wood busted up nose in that first round. Got dropped by Wood. Was a beautiful kind of one kind of sequence of techniques where Delgado threw the hook through the roundhouse kick, my bad. Through the roundhouse kick, Wood ducked it and just ended up throwing a hammer fist, a spinning back fist. But instead of throwing it like this, he threw it hammer fist style and just dropped Wood. And Wood's toughness to just keep on going. And even how he got busted up in the third round, in the second a little bit, and in the third round too. But, I thought that was a toss-up because the Wood did drop Delgado in the first round, like a minute left, minute and a half at most, with a right hand. And I think those last two rounds were kind of anybody's. I don't want to judge them, but just kudos to those fighters too. That was a good fight. So to me, you had those two were really good fights. Really showed some toughness of the fighters for getting hurt like that. Because there's a couple times, few times. You count on one hand how many times Rebetsky got rocked and just kept on going forward. And kind of Wood, you could see Wood how he got a busted nose, was getting beat up, was taking some damage, and still didn't stop. And then those two were good fights, and then you had that scary knockout by the head kick with Sal killed, and just how I was nervous for the dude, but good to know he's doing okay. I never want to see a fighter get hurt. So, kind of wrap it up. I want to give kudos to the judges for not just giving fighters the win if they just held them down. Really saying, no, you've got to do something with it, and if you don't, and the other person lands better strikes, we're going to give it to them. Whether it be on the feet or on the ground. And then the reffing of kind of not being wishy-washy, not knowing what they were going to do. Knew when the time needed to be called. They weren't afraid. They called for the point and just kind of was willing to do that. And then just overall good fights on the whole card from the prelims to the main. Just sucks it had to end with an eye poll like that. Just hope Tom Aspinall speedy recovery. Just hoping get better soon, and hopefully either the January, the first card of the year for Paramount and the UFC, or the first like marquee, or either the next month in February, maybe latest March, they run it back. And hopefully no fouls. Hopefully, you start to see fighters either keep their fists closed or hands up like that. Just something where they're not allowing eye pokes to happen to kind of affect these fights. But, what can you do? But just kind of, those are my thoughts on this card. And, just wish the main event would end differently. But, what can you do? So that's it. That's all I got here. Just kind of want to put that out there, and that's out there, man. And just hope y'all have a good weekend. Train hard, have fun, y'all. Talk to y'all soon. Peace.